There's a George Orwell quote that says, "He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past." This means if you want to control your future, now is the time to control your past. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to control your future by sharing a little something that I think I'm going to refer to as the Mandala Effect Hack. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to control your future by sharing a little something that I think I'm going to refer to as the Mandala Effect Hack. Now, there's a George Orwell quote that says, "He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past." This means if you want to control your future, now is the time to control your past. And this concept really hit home with me recently when I was thinking about one of the first porno videotapes that I ever had access to, like a complete start to finish, fully produced pornography videotape. Because this was like 97. And so this was VHS, video cassette, not DVD. And this movie was called, I believe it was called Snatched, not to be confused with the Guy Ritchie movie called Snatch that had what was the guy's name? Brad Pitt, and took place in London, as also a really good movie. But this one was called Snatched, and it turns out it was from 1989, and there's has something to do with a heist of money, like stealing money, and I can't remember if there's private eyes or some police detectives, but this money kind of gets thrown around, whatever, and each time the money changes hands, some sexual stuff ends up happening. And I could have sworn that that one of my favorite lines from this porno, because I must have watched this thing, probably, you know, tens, 20 times, because it was basically a friend in my friend group in high school got a hold of this, and then we kind of passed it around. And when I had my turn with it, I made a copy. And you can just imagine back in this era, which is before just the digital copies, like, oh, I'll just put it on Google Drive or whatever, or even this is even pre-thumb drive. This is to make a copy, you had to play the thing, and the copy took as long as it took to play the thing. So I had to have the time to set up where I got two VCRs, put them together, and played this tape, and then recorded it to my own tape. That was some dedication. That's some dedication. And my favorite line that I can still remember, or I thought I remembered crystal clear, because I mean, I saw this thing so many times in a heightened state of interest, was I could have sworn that one of the actresses, after completing a very vigorous grouping of two bodies, and there was a completion with the money shot that did not have to do with the money in question, the heist. Could have sworn she said, "I feel rich now." And it just makes perfect sense. Like, she gets a little gift and has more than she had before. "I feel rich now." Great line. Except that line was not said by the actress. It was actually said by the actor. The last scene in this 1989 movie, I didn't even know it was this old. I thought it was a more recent thing. So apparently, I don't know where this tape came from or how long it had been passed around before or whatever. I didn't see it till, yeah, I think I must have been able to drive or whatever. So it was a little later, and much later in the 90s. Definitely not the 80s, definitely not in the early 90s. And the line was, "I feel rich now," but it was after the guy did his thing. It's like, "Dirt, dirt, dirt, I feel rich now." And I was like, oh shit, I completely misremembered that. And it just reminded me of how often we tend to misremember things, and we remember them and we're so attached to it. I saw a recent movie, as for adults, but not the X-rated type. It was from David Lynch. I've been watching a lot of David Lynch stuff lately. I watched all of Twin Peaks, and stick with me because this is all going somewhere that's really going to help you change your future to what you want. in this movie, it starts out where this couple is, they're living their best life, and they curiously start to get videotapes, VHS cassettes, just randomly put in an envelope on their doorstep. The first one they go and they play it, and it's like, oh, it's just the outside of their house. Must be some realtor doing some weird stuff, or this is their way to say, hey, maybe you should sell your house, whatever. But then it happens again, and in this time the tape shows not just the outside of the house, but the inside of the house and the couple sleeping. They are freaked out. So they call the police. Two detectives show up, and they're just asking questions, try to understand. They even ask him, they ask the guy, you go, do you have a video? Do you have a video camera? Maybe wondering if maybe, somebody took their camera and made it. I don't know but he goes like, no, I don't like video cameras. I like to remember things the way I remember them, not the way they are. I think that's a perfect encapsulation of really how our memory works. We remember them a certain way, not necessarily how they are. And if we're confronted with, sometimes the fact of how things are, there's going to be some things that kind of like mess with us. This is so common, and it often happens at a large level of sort of like common misremembrances that it's been dubbed the Mandela Effect. And this was named after a woman dubbed this, who she was sure that Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa, who was imprisoned, she was sure that he died in prison during the 80s, which did not happen. He lived until 2013. He was released from prison in 1990 and didn't pass until 2013. But there turns out to be lots and lots of other people who had the exact same memory. And this isn't the only event like this. If you go look up like what are some common Mandela effect type things, some of these are pretty, it's like, oh, that's just, maybe you misheard it or whatever. Like the Looney Tunes being spelled that's tunes, Toons, as in cartoon, instead of Looney Tunes, like music, the musical sound. It was Looney Tunes with the sound. There's the Berenstain Bears, when it's actually the Berenstain Bears, not Stein, the stain. A lot of people thought the Monopoly guy had a monocle. I thought that, and I think where I got it from was in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. It might have been the second one actually, When Nature Calls, when he goes and sees a little teeny person, which you're like, this is odd. Why is this guy so tiny? And I'm pretty sure he has a monocle. And Ace goes, and you must be the Monopoly guy. And then he like punches him and then wears this little guy as a coat. And it's just like, oh, that's why he was so small, so you could wear them. All right, it's a little bit telegraphing what the joke is going to be or the bit. Um, uh, and this one also got me, but apparently a lot of people, I think the Darth Vader's famous line from Star Wars, or maybe it's the second one, but that he says, "Luke, I am your father." But apparently the line is he just says, "No, I am your father." And I'm thinking for me, where this came from is one of my favorite movies of all time was Tommy Boy. I love that. And there's a scene where Chris Farley, just being an idiot, because that's who he is in the movie, is just talking into a fan, and he just says like, "Luke, I am your father." And then David Spade comes in and says, "What are you doing? Getting fatter by the minute?" And ha ha ha, you're getting fatter by the minute. Tommy Boy, great movie. And here's another one that also got me where I was like, no, I swear this was true, but apparently it's not. It's a 1990s movie called Shazam starring Sinbad as a genie. I could have sworn that I remember in the 90s seeing that ad. And I never saw the movie, but I swear. And so then when Shazam, the DC movie came out, I was like, oh, we're sort of redoing that and messing with that. I was like, is he a genie like Sinbad or? But nope, apparently didn't happen. And there's a number of explanations. I like the sort of the surrealistic one is that this could be proof that there's parallel universes or timeline shifting that people collectively will do, and so they'll remember from another timeline or another parallel universe. That's a fun one. But then there's just false memory formation, confabulation, as I kind of mentioned some of these, where it's like, oh, I saw something that was a miss, or a couple things going together that I put together as one thing when really they were separate things, or I thought I got it, but I didn't get from the source. I got it from something that was maybe a parody or riffing on it. So there's a lot of reasons why what we remember is not what actually happened. And so what does this have to do with your life? This is like, okay, Justin, this has been great going down your fucking memory lane, or maybe your self fucking memory lane because you started with porno when you were a teenager. But what does this have to do? Well, if some of these things that don't really mean much are so easy to misremember, what about the things that we use to construct every day of our life that we remember? Like, how do we remember our childhood, or how do we remember important friendships or relationships or events that happened that maybe scarred us a little bit? Like, even just recently, I gotten a little bit of a fender bender, more than a fender bender. Somebody pulled out, and they actually, their front bumper, because I was driving by and they pulled out into me. Basically, the entire right side of my car got scraped up, and that just, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it brought up previous accidents and things like that had happened to me. I'm fine. It was a slow speed thing. No harm, no foul. Well, other than turns out you sort of scrape up the entire side of a car and they call it totaled. So that's fun. So if you have any recommendations for cars, vehicles, or anything like that, feel free to send that to me because I'm going to be in the market here really soon. But it's like I'm thinking of previous times when I've been in car accidents and how did they really happen? And there's the like, oh my gosh, everything was so out of control and it's unsafe, or this means this is going to happen next. All these things that go in and they become facts of how the world works. It's like if somebody talks in a certain way, if you remember them talking that certain way, like that was like a parent, and then something bad happened, now you just assume that, oh, somebody talks that way, something bad's going to happen. But a lot of our past creates our now, and our now creates the future. So what if how you remember things isn't exactly how it was? And even if it was how it was, if it's not helping you, what if you remember it in a new way? What if you become open to the possibility that how that last relationship was, where you are sure they were the most narcissistic, horrible, evil person that you've ever been across, and that probably so many people are like this. I'm not going to say that that was a good relationship, but what if you learned a lot of things from that, and there were also some good things from it too, and it just showed you that this one case, that there were some things that didn't work quite for you the way that you wanted, and that you've learned from that, and you can identify if somebody's going to behave in a way that's not going to be in alignment. Yet you also remember there were some good things and there were some benefits, and that you have some hope for there to be even better people coming for you in your relationships. So that this is what I'm getting about with using the Mandela effect to hack it so that you are in control of your past, which is going to guide your future. So, what are some events that happened in your life that you can see to this day that you are still living the pattern that was put forth by that past remembrance? That, as we've seen, due to the Mandela effect and some of the examples that I've given, we do not remember things as they were. We remember them how we remember them. And if how we remember is up to interpretation, or is not 100% quote unquote true or provable, and there's an alternate way we could remember it that is going to benefit our life now and in the future, wouldn't you rather remember it in a way that is going to make your future even brighter than it likely already is? So, how do you do this? Just start with something simple, start with something easy, start with something that is not going to be super traumatic, right? Because again, maybe something super traumatic, you do want to go in there with another person, sort of, help be there, support you, guide you. But maybe it could just be something as simple as, like, maybe you lost something, and what did it mean that you lost something? And instead of like, oh my gosh, I lost this and I felt like the biggest idiot and it was so horrible. What if you remember it as like, oh yeah, I no longer needed this item. It wasn't doing me any favors anymore. In fact, this pair of sunglasses was scratched and just wasn't working. It just wasn't my look anymore. And it went away. And then it really made it so easy and just obvious that it was time to get something brand new, right? So these don't have to be completely radical things like something not existing or just being completely different. These are almost more of a shift in perspective. And we've been doing some shows on perspective and how you see things and how you view the world. And this is just sort of taking it from what's happening today to how something happened in the past. So I definitely advise something that's kind of mundane, sort of mellow, right? Like it's like, okay, maybe something. I'll have a good one here. When I was in junior high, this is like related to the Looney Tunes. You're just gonna see how my mind works a little bit. Just went to a store in the mall, and there was a Speed Racer shirt, and I don't know why, but I was like, I want a Speed Racer shirt. I can't remember if I was even that into Speed Racer or whatever. I got the shirt, and I was going to go to junior high, 7th or 8th grade or whatever. I put my Speed Racer shirt on, and this is like, oh, this is so different than what I usually wear. And I'm like, oh, I was kind of worried people were going to make fun of me. Because again, like, and when I was in elementary school, I got made fun of. So this is already get clue as to maybe where I might need to go back again. But we're sticking with this junior high case where I went to school and most people didn't say anything, no response, nothing. There was one kid, though, that as I was walking by him in the hall, he said, "Go, Speed Racer, go." And I swear he said it in a way that was making fun of me. And I never wore that shirt ever again. Yet, is that really how he said it? Is that really what happened? Or am I just misremembering? Because he could have said, "Go Speed Racer, go." Like, yeah, that's fucking awesome shirt. Like, you do it, man. Like, this is great. That's just as probable as happening. And I don't have any footage from that time. There's nobody else that I even knew that this was just an internal memory. So what if I be open to the fact that I'm misremembering that event and I choose to go with the more helpful interpretation that I chose the shirt and somebody recognized that it's kind of a cool shirt and was kind of cheering the shirt and me and that on. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I kind of do make pretty good choices about what I wear, and I get lots of compliments lately. I've been getting more and more because I have gone through and worked with this memory, and it really has changed how my present, which is now my near past, has been. And just by sharing this with you on the show, it's reinforcing it as that is the new memory I had, and so my future is going to be even better and more enjoyable with going through. So, with that, I'm very curious, what are some memories you might try the Mandala Effect hack with so that you can improve your future by shifting your memories from the past? So, with that, thank you so much. It's been great to kind of share some of my past with you and the various interpretations, and I'm excited to hear what you might be looking at, and send those in through email or on the social medias or through the comments, because we're going to tell you how to do all that. As for now, thank you so much and good day. Thanks for tuning in to Engineering Emotions and Energy with Justin Wink, Ph.D. Today's episode resonated with you? Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback not only supports the show, but also helps others find us and start their journey of emotional and energetic mastery. You can also help by sharing this podcast with someone you think will love it just as much as you do. Together, we're engineering more amazing lives.